Hello, everybody. This is a slightly different video today. So this is a trip that I did recently on August the 11th of this year, where I got invited to go up to a war museum, or I got offered the chance to drive one of their tanks, and the images that you're seeing now, obviously, is me. The first few images is me in the tank. Um, and the army guy that had been teaching me how to drive the tank and teaching me to use the guns and everything else. Very kindly offered to take a photo. Now there was going to be and incidentally in the photo, I don't know if you can see there, but I haven't suddenly grown a dodgy 70s American cop mustache. I think that must be the shadow from the peak of my cap, but I did I did think that was quite funny, and he pointed it out as well. But I think it's just the shadow of my cap. Um, but yeah, so I got offered to go up there. I bought a GoPro, and well, I spent about nearly not quite £300 on a second-hand GoPro with. And I mean, like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of accessories for it, and we got it clamped, or so we thought, to the front of the tank. And when we got back from driving and doing all of the different things that we were doing, which was throwing it through, sort of puddles, and throwing it, up and down hills and round banked, steep, sort of corners, thinking I'd got the best GoPro footage in the world, and it was going to make an absolutely awesome video. And sadly, what had happened was two things. We had an extraordinary piece of bad luck and an extraordinary piece of good luck. So it evened itself out. When we got back to the front of the tank, the instructor said to me, he said, "There's a bit of a problem." I said, "What's the problem?" He said, "The GoPro clamp that we've put on." So I said, "Yeah." He said, "The bar has snapped." And I was like, "Okay." And he said, "The good news is it's snapped, but the GoPro somehow hasn't come off that clamp, even though it's broken in two. The GoPro was holding the clamp kind of still in the slot. The end bit that you tighten to tighten the whole thing up, that had come off as well. But somehow the GoPro had held on, and all it had recorded, unfortunately, because it had then sort of fallen forward and fallen underneath itself, all it had recorded then was literally one part of the front of the tank. And even that wasn't very visible because obviously it was pressed right up against it. So that was really unfortunate. But at the same time, as I say, it was good luck as well, because had the GoPro have come off, I more than likely would have just, obliterated it with the tracks, because from where I was sat, visibility was okay, but I could only see directly in front of me. I couldn't see sort of kind of below me, so to speak. Yeah, but as I say, there was meant to be GoPro footage as well. Now the museum have actually said at the end of the season, they'll have me back up, and we'll try and attach GoPros sort of all over and do it properly. We thought we'd done it properly this time, but do it so they won't break. And even if they do break, he said, "Oh, we'll make sure they're fixed so that it will still record." And they'll use some of their GoPros as well. And we'll get sort of angles from everywhere. So I'm hoping that that's going to come to fruition. But as I always say, you can't take anything for granted. So, as I say, the first few images there were of the tank that I drove and around the tank, inside the tank. And then the images that you've seen thereafter were inside the museum. So the museum itself is called Muckleburgh. It's in Norfolk, and it's well worth a visit if you're at a loose end and you're interested in military stuff. At the end of this video, um, I also got given the chance to go on army soldier maneuver, which, according again to the instructor, was this is how soldiers are treated when they're loaded into the back of lorries. And I sort of kind of expected it was going to be a genteel ride around the museum, and no, I was very much mistaken. But it was very much good fun, and I really enjoyed it, and that experience is now available to the public. So when you go there now, you can actually buy a ticket to go on that experience. I think it's £3 each. I think it is, or it's £10 for a family, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty certain that's what it was. I can't remember. I might be wrong on that. But yeah, so anyway, I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. At certain points, I may just interject and tell you what's going on. But if not, as I say, the end bit is a good video of me going around. So thanks ever so much for watching the video. If I don't speak to you again, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Bye for now.
You hold my hands on fire. No, you won't be frightened.
aboard this daft military lorry, which was used by the British Army until just a few years ago. Make sure your seatbelt is secure. We will have a bumpy ride. You are starting a tour of the site of a former Royal Artillery and radar training camp. In the early 16th century, fortifications were built here to defend against an invasion by Spain. Centuries before, the Romans and the Vikings had landed and occupied Weymouth, which long remained vulnerable to invasion. In the First World War, defences were built, and those of you on the right looking out to sea will notice one of the few remaining ground boxes in Norfolk. In the headland, anti-aircraft and coastal guards were located against the threat of attack by German sentries or naval forces. The East Coast of England was indeed attacked, fortunately not Weymouth. The site was occupied by troops, so many trenches were dug and huts built, with the area protected by barbed fences. Much of this remained until the outbreak of the Second World War, when the defences were further strengthened against the threat of invasion. These included gun emplacements, door boxes, mortar pits, in addition to a long anti-tank ditch which surrounded the side. This was intended to give further protection from attack should an enemy have Those on the left of the lorry, looking west towards Salthouse, will see a unique large emplacement built to house an 18-pounder fuel. This gave protection over the low-lying land and was supported by observation and range-finding facilities, whose remains can still be seen. Those on the right of the lorry will be passing the Weybourne airfield, used to launch the radio control drones as targets for the anti-aircraft gunners. The drones were launched on a road located on the site of the present airfield. Again, on the left, you pass an underground ammunition store, although most ammunition for the camp was delivered each day by lorry or trolley. As you approach the coastal inlet, the extensive buildings on the right were used to house the service personnel who operated the radar up until the late 1950s. This site now has an unmanned RAF radar receiving station to track and identify aircraft as part of the national defense. Weybourne archaeological site, which forms part of the National Weather Service. Next is a white building occupied by the University of East Anglia as an atmospheric observatory. It is full of scientific instruments used to monitor global warming. The building was originally used to control the anti-aircraft guns in the three gun emplacements. These have been partly restored and contain a 40mm Bofors and a 3.7-inch gun, which were the standard weapons used during the Second World War. The gun emplacements were protected by machine gun pillboxes and by extensive minefields, trenches and barbed wire fencing. The emplacements will, in time, be fully restored and a third gun added to complete the complex as it was during the war. Those on the left of the road now pass the RAF radar station with its four receiving posts as you come on the other side of the council. Both to the left and right were some 200 buildings, further gun emplacements and mobile anti-aircraft gun stations. These fell into disrepair, and the area was cleared in the 1980s and returned to full responsibility. On the way, you pass another second block of buildings and a well-hidden underground area shelter. As the line ascends higher ground, there are more gun emplacements looking out to sea, and below the first and second World War II. Before the site was returned to agriculture, and the decision was made to turn these buildings into holiday homes and a caravan park. This was not to be so, and the buildings were demolished, sold for part of the museum and storage complex that remains today. The land clearance took almost 5 years and involved overall tens of thousands of tons of concrete, steel, brick and other building materials. Trenches and anti-tank ditches were filled in and evidence of the extent of the camp was collected. In other parts of the villages of Waybourne and Church, there remain traces of wartime defences, including pillboxes and trenches. Thankfully, years ago, all the mines are removed, but occasionally, military remnants come to the surface to remind us of the area's family history. For those interested in learning more about the First and Second World War defences of this part of the coast, you can purchase